It's the Center Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal! Yes! Yes! Yes, this is my favorite part of the game.
Analyzing all of the league matchups week to week.
You can't win!
Get him a body bag! Finish him!
That is a bit above average.
I said this sucks, and basically so do you.
And discussing the boom, bust, and hidden gem players throughout the league.
We ain't found shit!
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
I'm in town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass.
Dan Marino should die of gonorrhea and rot in hell. Laces out.
Touchdown!
And here's your host,
Allow myself to introduce myself.
David Harbatkin.
Hello and welcome to the Center Fantasy Football Podcast for week 2, 3. What are we counting? Episode. Let's do it as episode 2 of season 9. I'm your host, David Harbatkin, joined on the program by Dalvin Cook's coach, Mr. Gazalutsky.
Cook's in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. In the rare circumstance of having wins in September. When was the last time you had wins in September?
Usually we start 0-5. So winning doesn't start until around Halloween.
No. But taking over that role for you is the other Hackettstown team, who's down at the bottom. The commissioner of the league, Mr. Manny Friedman.
He's got Jabra earplugs plugging his ears, so he can't listen to what we're saying.
I wish I was on mute right now.
So we can't hear you, or you wish that I was muted?
I wish you were muted.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry. I am not going to rub it in too badly, because the thing is that I had pretty much written this off. I was actually shocked when I kept getting notification after notification on Monday night. So it's a pleasant surprise. It was a pleasant surprise for me.
He is on a soccer tear, though.
He has been. He has gotten how many? What? It was like
15 points in one day.
And one, yeah, exactly. So
yeah, didn't I go from last to fourth?
Something like that. And then Eugene got furious last night because he lost to Nick. He's already probably asking for a 1,000-word apology for this, because he called me right after, because I guess you have to like manually update your roster on the thing, and he didn't manually update it, and Nick did, and so Nick had Messi, whereas he didn't, and whatever.
I think he was more furious that he lost to the team that I beat.
He was furious about that he didn't have the roster. That he felt that Nick, this was Nick's latest version of a CAG, even though it was just him not updating his roster.
Okay.
Anyway, back to fantasy football. So we
can keep talking about soccer. Okay, but this is the fantasy football podcast.
I mean, it's all things center related, but I feel like most of the viewers want to focus on football. So I'm sure we could take a look at the standings in soccer if you'd like. Mr. Hernandez is happy about that, and Mumbai would certainly like that. Certainly, Mumbai/Zamunda with their standings probably would rather focus on it. In fact, soccer is almost like a reverse.
What was the comment? Football barely keeps him interested.
Oh yeah. I mean, fantasy keeps Nick interested in football, but barely.
Just barely.
Just barely. All right. Well, let's. Here we might as well start on last week's game. I'm assuming that you would like to get this game over with.
Let's just get it over with. Let's just get it over with.
Right. So, the final score was 132.48 to 120.76 in this game. Now, I had, for the entirety of the weekend, so I mean, I played Beasley. We discussed this on the last show that I was going to play Beasley to counteract Allen, and then wait and see what happened with Julio Jones after the first week. Now, clearly, Julio Jones is worthy of what I'd imagined him to be, with 18.8 points.
Andy was laughing at you all week long. Why would you play Beasley instead of Jones?
Exactly, and this filters back to me. But anyway, so I was kicking myself the entire time, thinking that I ruined my week because of Jones, only to find out that another Jones saved my bacon. and just for context for anybody, whatever. So was it the last time we played? I'm assuming it's the last time we played, right?
Yeah, last. I think it was
that
like
was the
week
Tanyan.
2 or week 3 of last year. Yeah,
that was Tanyan game. So we had played, and Green Bay had the Monday night game. I also thought I was done, and then Tanyan comes back with that ridiculous score. So this year, you go and pick up Tanyan, who actually does really well, 14.2 points.
right.
But Aaron Jones with 41.50 points.
I mean, I was up this entire weekend. Like I think I had the projected score to win like for the majority of the weekend. Sutton did amazing against Jacksonville. He didn't score a touchdown, but he went off in yardage. Allen and Diggs did their jobs. I mean, I would expect a little bit more from Diggs, but they caught a touchdown. And then Lockett kind of, closed the gap a little bit in the 4:00 games. But Godwin had a decent game. Melvin Gordon didn't do anything. Barkley obviously didn't do anything, and he's off my team. He got fired.
Which I'm sure we'll discuss later.
I was up for the most part, and I cannot be upset with Tanyan's performance. He scored a touchdown. He had 14 points. I can't expect more from that. I did have a bench blunder with James White, but even if I started him, I would have only had 10 points extra. So, it's hard to defend against 41 points, regardless of who you play. So in a way, I am pissed off, obviously, but I would have been even more pissed if like Jones got like 30 points and I just squeaked out a win you just squeaked out a win because of my bench blunder. So I can't really say much after that crazy Monday night performance.
I mean, honestly, that's kind of how I was feeling going to the Monday night game, was just like, don't let me lose by the difference between Julio Jones and Beasley. And for a long time, actually, it looked to me like it was going to be that. And then thankfully you got the extra ones. So it was like, oh, wow. But although I wasn't even watching the game because I was just getting the notifications, and I'm like, well, I can't go watch it now. I'm going to jinx it. So I didn't watch any of the game, but yeah, you were beating me. I mean, like, I felt okay with the Miami game. I mean, that was an absolute blowout, but the fact that Allen only got 20 made me feel okay, because I mean, like, it was a weird game if you watched it, and then
they kept jacking up the score. I was thrilled, but I was like surprised they were up 28-0 and still throwing the ball.
Right, and there were like a bunch of, I mean, there was just a bunch of turnovers, and then turnovers back to the turnovers, and the ironic thing is that you had the Buffalo defense, I believe, right?
I did initially, yes.
Right, and they got 22 points or something, and then Cleveland you picked up Cleveland, who I threw in the trash, and then you only got 4 points out of them. So had you gotten the 22 from Cleveland, add 18 more points, that's
a win.
So I appreciate you picking up my refuse. So you can kick yourself over that. The rest of it
surely can. I mean,
the rest of it,
I underestimated Houston, and I think I overestimated Miami, because Miami is hot garbage.
I think, well, I had seen what Houston did against Jacksonville, and I saw that they were throwing the ball a lot. Now it might change a little bit because I believe Tyrod Taylor's injured, but it made me a little bit wary of it, and especially after the way that Cleveland was performing. But then in addition to that, when I saw that the Rams were dropped, because I feel like there's two types of defenses. There's either the Popeil defenses, where you just set it and forget it. Rest in peace, Mr. Popeil. I saw him. Yes. Or the ones that you play the weekly streaming defenses, and I felt like the Rams were just kind of a Popeil defense, which is why I picked them up when Nick and Jamie dropped them. But I mean, overall, I mean, you can't be disappointed with your. I mean, obviously, you could be disappointed with Barkley. I'm disappointed with Taylor in this game. It was a good game. I mean, and like I said, I had pretty much written myself off. I was shocked to have the win, but I'm certainly happy that I have it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it's off the backs of two guys, Jones and Lockett. If you didn't have those games, it would be those two guys. It would be tough week,
I know.
Literally half your score.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, no, I know. More than half the score. Yeah.
Well, I am kicking myself over the Buffalo defense or dropping them for the Cleveland defense, but I picked them back up again, so I'm hoping for the best.
Are they playing Miami again this week?
They are not, but they do have them again on the schedule.
Okay, well, definitely play them that week. All right. Yes. I have nothing else to say with this game, about this game. I'm done with this guy. What's you do? Lutsky, I mean, you have to, your typical yes. Yes,
master. Yes, good, master. No, you just to watch the game. I was actually giving you the play-by-play.
That's true, because I was on the phone with him. I called him up. I'm like, I can't watch the game. I can't jinx myself. Tell me what's happening. So
and there were moments Manny had a chance late in the game, but it
was that extra touch. No, because Tanyan scored a touchdown, so it was close, and then he had that extra one.
Mm-hmm. Jones had the extra one just to put it away with Tanyan blocking for him of all people.
Yeah. So, Manny, are you? I mean, I'm perfectly happy looking at your ceiling, but you maybe want to lower it slightly. Not that everybody isn't minding the view of your forehead, I'm sure.
Oh,
he slumped in his chair.
Yeah, it's just
show everybody your pajamas. Your Josh Allen pajamas.
Yep, with Stephon Diggs teddy bear.
All right, where do we want to go next?
I mean, you want to just roll into the Dr. Hockey beatdown?
Sure, let's do that. I will let you take it away here.
Well, let's see. We had there were some issues going into the game here. There was a point where Burrow had thrown 3 picks in a row for negative 6 points, and Dr. Hockey jumped to a 76-70 lead, to which I went to burst into a tirade on the phone about all the breaks in fantasy football, and you got to get them all. But seeing what happened with O. Henry, Manny's guy going into the draft. One little backstory, Derrick Henry was Manny's guy. So right before the draft, I said, man, who do you want? He goes, I want myself some Derrick Henry. I go, okay, I'm just going to bid him up to the high heavens. You don't get him. So it gets into the mid-70s, and he starts getting a little gun shy with that click button. 72, 73, 74, 75, 76. All of a sudden, he just peters out around 76. I mean, I got Henry for 78, I think. So 77, I could feel him wavering. And then for 78, I mean, that's a steal. Look at the points, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this guy probably had almost half of my points. So, I mean, and then Dr. Hockey plays Scantling in the Green Bay game, the only guy to not get points out of that slugfest.
He spotted you a game or a player.
He spotted me a player, and Dr. Hockey was obviously dejected the last time we spoke to him. He was drowning his sorrows in some gin, I believe, or whatever it was, bourbon. He was in no mood to discuss anything. But, the superstar Mitchell was horrendous. The entire 49ers offense is injured or just horrific. Dalvin Cook looks like he's injured. I mean, everybody else played whatever. I mean, you take away those 47 points. And
this is very similar to the game that we just discussed, in that, I mean, Derrick Henry so you had the Gronk points and you had Dalvin Cook points to make up for. So it was maybe 3 players, but still, I mean, it's mostly Henry. When you're pushing near 50 for a player for one player, I mean, that's gonna make it competitive in any game.
I mean, the funny part is the Arizona defense I paid $27 for, and they really came through for me.
Who was your defense last week? I don't even know. Yeah,
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Obviously not notable. Anyway, so they really came through in the clutch for me there with 0 points, and big money spent on Mitchell too. He was horrible, and big money spent on Jameis. If you want to scroll down, what did we spend? I think it was $43.
Well, you spent less money for Henry and Arizona defense combined than he did for Kamara.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the 100. Scroll up? What did the $104 man end up with?
A measly 7 points.
Whoa! So you want to do some division?
That's less than Saquon. That's less than chicken tender Saquon Barkley did.
Whoa! Oh yeah! That definitely. And the kicker is that Dr. Hockey dropped Gronkowski in week 1. He just threw him in the garbage. So there's tight end. Probably.
It almost seems. I mean, like, how many times did you say that if an NFL player gets paid, then he just sits on the sideline and watches his Wells Fargo account rather than playing? It seems like if you pay him in this league, they're not going to play either.
As Dr. Hockey has learned. I mean,
as you too. I mean, looks like Kamara, looks like the Arizona defense. The
Arizona defense, they got paid. They were just counting their ducats. They were just counting their money on the sideline. I mean, they got 1 sack, and it was barely a sack. I think it was actually stopped at the line of scrimmage. So it could have been in the negatives. The bench was looking pretty horrid.
I mean, Winston for 8.34.
$43. And look at the bench blunders by Dr. Hockey. You can rattle them off. You can make a whole separate team of bench blunders for Dr. Hockey.
He had 61.2 points on the bench, which frankly is close to this. I mean, then Antonio Brown only got 2.7 points.
So you add 15. So you add 15 for Brown, right? Because you take away 2 from any one of these bozos.
Well, frankly, I mean, you could literally,
17 and a half from any one of them. So what's 15 and so that's 30 points, right? That certainly makes it a lot more competitive.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is like you could actually just add the points that are down at the bottom, because when you get 0, it's very easy math.
And Waller, I mean, I told Dr. Hockey Waller was going to have a tough matchup against Pittsburgh, but the man is just a thick skull. Thick skull, and
but he did get 18 from the Tampa Bay defense.
Oh yeah, that was actually a brilliant pickup against Atlanta. That was a great play. Scantling was horrible, and of course he had Chris Carson. That was part of my rant. I mean, look, you can look at all the numbers up and down and just say you got bailed out by Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but I mean that's why you have him.
The beast.
You can send Derrick Henry a thank you card for the week 2 because without his points, I mean, we lose.
But that's why
you got your money's worth with Derrick Henry for sure. I mean, Derrick Henry is just a monster. He gets better as the game goes on. In the 4th quarter, they wanted nothing to do with him, the Seahawks. Like, he was just plowing over them. And it was amazing.
The revenge game from Sammy Watkins never happened. He was a non-factor.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You kept talking about the revenge game.
The revenge was that I played him.
Kansas City got their revenge on him.
They got their revenge on me.
Right.
And, Antonio Brown. I didn't see the COVID designation.
Yeah, but that's a now.
Is that new?
I don't think he had COVID then.
And Dr. Hockey keeps complaining about Sherbert, his quarterback.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's playing well in reality, 338 passing yards, but 1 passing TD. And this is what we talk about all the time. It doesn't matter. Like, your quarterbacks, the passing yards don't mean anything. It's all a matter of, do they throw it or do they hand it off down at the goal line? Because if they pass it for the touchdown, even if it's a little shovel pass, they'll still get the credit. Whereas if they don't, they don't. Because all of the points from the quarterback either comes if you have a quarterback that rushes, or if you pass it for the touchdown.
One thing I realized is the first 3 opponents you have to play them again, so you have to be very complimentary of them. So Dr. Hockey did a good job. I look forward to playing.
I look forward to playing Manny again. Okay.
After the first two opponents, you could just cut loose. So Eugene next week, he's good. The first three opponents.
The first three. Well, first three now.
Yes.
Now that we've
used to be two now. So Dave Farbacken.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm not complimentary of anyone. I think Dalvin Cook will be hurt by the time I play him next time.
Well, that's why you picked up Madison.
Yeah, he's garbage.
He is garbage, but he's still, All right. Moving on. Where shall we go next? I mean, we always like to save our biggest fan for last. So
the biggest fan, we'll save his wrap up for last, of course.
Always.
Let's go to the team that's is barely paying attention this season.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well get that. Yes, the champ is here.
Apparently, championship is exhausting. You can barely really focus on fantasies.
I mean, he's still focused. I'm sure he's still focused on the trade from last year when you traded away Mahomes, just as he was during the championship game.
After me and Manny were both eliminated,
he was still
focused on the Mahomes trade.
Right. So he's probably still focused on it today, which is why he just can't bring himself to win a game.
He could barely bring himself to play this game. He played it in protest.
Yeah. But speaking of Mahomes, speaking of Mahomes, was on the team that beat him. Although that was an interesting matchup because you had Jackson against Mahomes, and Jackson actually, I mean, not only did Baltimore win the game, but you had Jackson outplaying him there. Yeah. Devontae Adams with 20 points. So this was actually like a really close game towards the end of that. And it came down between Hawkinson and Adams on the Monday night game. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we could go through the other scores first. So you had Keenan Allen 14, 11 for Metcalf. His Harris brothers ended up doing decently well, 19.1 for Najee and Harris. And then 13.4 for the other Harris. What is it, Deontay?
Damien.
Manny's head just moves lower and lower into his chair.
I mean, whatever. I know exactly.
That's how I felt on Monday. That was not me on Monday.
It's going to be a scalp.
Are you in quicksand?
I can't see myself on the.
I mean, I guess it's better than when you just go to sleep on the podcast, but whatever.
Yeah.
Where we get to bed.
So Gesicki had 7.1, 9.7 from Claypool. Not much to speak from the defense. So for the Lightning Rods, Ty Johnson. Oh my God, the Jets themselves are hard, but their backfield is just atrocious. 5 points there. 15 for Moss. Moss got 2 rushing TDs. So he was the one that was getting, he was taking some points away from Allen from you, and he was the one that was getting the touchdowns there. And then
garbage time touchdowns.
Yeah, well, the whole game was garbage time. And then Williams got 22.1 points. But yes, this game really came down to Hawkinson versus Adams in that last game, and it was honestly back and forth. And it was just at the end that Hawkinson just eked him out, and he already had some points in hand, so it was enough to put him over the top for the win. But it was an exciting
pass to Devontae Adams in the end zone that was incomplete, and pass interference was called on Detroit, and that's actually what let Dave win. So the entire game was interconnected between several different teams, because had Adams caught that, Dave wouldn't have got that touchdown, and it could have been a lot closer between him and Manny.
Yeah.
And Nick would have won.
Every play had an effect on somebody.
Well, on these two teams. Yeah, because Scandling did nothing. As far as bench blunders, Pittman with 20 points. Hollywood Brown. That's right. Hollywood Brown would have made the difference.
Oh, yes.
Oof. Especially if he would have played him for Claypool, but oh well. And then CeeDee Lamb, who everybody wanted. I mean, he was good, but 17.4 points. I mean, why? I mean, this is why you have to wait a couple weeks before you make a trade. I mean, we'll talk about this later. Obviously, with the new Le'Veon Bell trade, not the actual Le'Veon Bell trade because he's hot garbage right now, but the metaphorical one that nobody's talking about.
Now, man, he's down to his eyebrows. He's thinking lower and lower. Okay, welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we'll explain to you the what we mean by the Le'Veon Bell trade soon enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're all hot garbage. Saquon is hot garbage too. I just had to get him off. Well, we'll talk about it later, but I just had to get him off my team. He didn't deserve a spot on the finest.
He's not one of the finest in the league.
He's not one of the finest. He's one of the baddest. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next game. Do we want to go with Cyberdyne or your burner team?
Let's go with the burner team.
All right, this was a
Whalers
good match.
Is going to be disgruntled after last week's output.
Yes. I mean, what happened after week one? I mean, he had 171. Really comes down to earth on this one. So obviously he's top heavy there on this score. So 21.22 for Stafford, 15.4 for Hopkins, 15.9 for Thielen. Thielen actually, so he had an amazing game last week, but he wasn't that good last year, and he's rebounding pretty well. McCaffrey obviously just keeps getting points, but Miles Sanders,
things took a turn this week.
Yes. Sanders got below the Sanders 20. GoDirt.com only 4.4 points, 2.9 for Chark. You want to talk about hot garbage? You could talk about the Jacksonville team there. Zerline with 10 and then 2 for the defense. For Gronky Kong, Russell Wilson with 27, 10 for Robinson, Cooper Kupp. I watched large portions of that game, and they just throw to him all the time. He kept getting touched. It's ridiculous. Nick Chubb with 16.8, but Hilaire, not only did he get 2.6, but he had that huge fumble that cost him the game. So he's probably not even gonna there's gonna be some punishment enacted in the future for him. Pitts, the tight end that everybody was touting, he gets 12.3 points. DJ more than satisfied, 21.9, 5 for Bass, and 19 for the New England defense against the horrid Jets team. Smith-Schuster was 16.4 points. Interesting. And then Patrick with 12.7. Although, to be honest with you, he has no place to put those guys because his wide receivers, I don't know. It doesn't matter. He won. So, and then here, not much to speak of. Mike Davis in Atlanta, I guess, would have done better than Sanders, but still doesn't.
So,
in fact, I believe this was the blowout of the week.
Before we go into deeper analysis on this game, which team is the real Whalers? The 170 plus or this team?
I don't.
Not so quick to answer there.
I have to go. He has his two top guys are extremely good, Hopkins and McCaffrey. Right. You can't argue with those two guys. The rest of the team is decent. Sanders had way below his Sanders 20, this week. Tight end is suspect, probably below average. Chark isn't great.
Chark can be good.
Stafford, you show me the week one score. I'm hiding under my bed. Then you show me this score. And
Stafford doesn't run, so I don't see him getting over 30 at all this season. Thielen is okay, but
other than when he got 30.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no picks, but he's not going to have one of those 40-point Mahomes games or what Lamar had 2 years ago. That's not going to happen. So
So I mean, after week 1, you probably projected Whalers to be in the top 3.
I'd say he's,
Where do you
he's
put
going
him
to
at?
have an average of 120, 125, but 170 is not going to happen that often unless Hopkins and McCaffrey go absolutely nuts.
So my answer to the question is that he is one of the best in scooping up garbage out of the trash. Like he's been nicknamed the raccoon for a reason. So the fact that he has Stafford, Hopkins, Thielen, and McCaffrey to work from, I mean, I think so. To answer your question, I don't think he's either of those two teams yet. I think that he's somewhere in between. However, I think as the season develops, he has a very good base from which to work from. I mean, this is a better base than he usually has to work from. I mean, and he's built, first of all, he's been to half the championship games the league has had, and there's a reason for that. And it's not usually because of his, what he starts out with. So he's starting out better than he normally does now. And now also realize that there's been like absolute trash in the free agent. I mean, it is barren right now, and there's been no major anything. So I don't think you can.
Let's look at the bench. Let's see if there's anybody that can bolster this score. I mean, Davis in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's running game's not that great. I mean, Rojoke's not that great. Waddle has potential. He's a young guy in Miami. I've looked at him. Williams, I mean, he had 25 in week 1, but he's splitting the backfield with now Manny's new guy, Swift. Dillon, I mean, he's Aaron Jones is going to be, taking that. And then he raccooned my Leonard Fournette right out of the dumpster immediately, who got 11.6. But I mean, does the bench really look like it's going to bolster the score, or do you think it's going to be raccoon pickings?
Raccoon pickings. Absolutely raccoon pickings.
He's very top heavy. So,
yeah. But I mean, I think that he could replace most of this. I mean, look, anything comes available, that he's going to be on it.
Yeah.
Usually he's packed 10 or 11 guys into IR. I don't see.
Yeah, I know. He's not usually. I mean, this is a very different season for the Whalers because not only did he end up getting stuck with McCaffrey, though my theory was confirmed, but he's not running a 52-man roster at the game start. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Now,
maybe he's trying something new.
Now, do you think Gronky Kong can maintain this consistent performance?
Well, let's look at his side.
This is largely Cup. I mean, Russell Wilson's going to get his points. I mean, who else on this? I mean, like, I don't even know how he got this. What did he get? 150? I mean, how does this add up to 150? I mean, DJ Moore.
Chubb is a consistent performer.
I don't give him Chubb. Fine, I'll give
Pitts
Chubb.
Pitts is going to consistently get 70 plus yards a game. So at 12 points is going to be average for him.
Yeah.
DJ Moore has been performing. So, I mean, he's not going to get 19 from a defense every week. And then you look, he can plug in
there you go.
Juju.
19 from the defense, right? Yeah. This is bolstered 19 points from the defense. So yeah, exactly. There's part of that. Right. And then Cup. It's really a question of, I mean, look,
he's by far Stafford's favorite target. Stafford goes to him all the time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, he's going to have a monster season. I have no question about that. But, we'll see. I mean, look, I think he has problems with Hilaire, not only because of the score, but because, like I said, because of the fumble.
Whalers did get screwed. All the Stafford throws went to Cup, so that was a disaster.
I mean, there's that too, but I mean, just
yeah. I mean, Gronky does have issues at RB2, like most teams.
Yeah.
But he's extremely strong in receiver. So I think top to bottom, like overall, I think Gronky Kong actually has a slightly better team than the Whalers.
If you look closely, a lot of his players didn't make their projection.
Yeah,
and he still got 100. I don't know how it was. It's
because of the defense. It's the defense.
Yeah.
It's the defense, and DJ Moore had a really good game.
What is that? Two players made their projection or beat their projection plus the defense.
Yeah, so I mean, look, both of these teams, I think you're going to see in the mix as the season goes on. I don't know. It's we will see, but it's I don't think that. Yeah, I just think that they're going to be in the mix as the season goes on, and we'll see how they develop. They're also very smart. Drafters and garbage pickers and all this other stuff. So I think that they will do well.
Yeah, agreed.
And then all right, moving on to somebody who really can't be about. Nick and Jamie.
Another team that
I mean this one. I mean, I don't know what happened here. I don't know what happened here. So Cyberdyne ends up winning this game 118.46 to 97.08. I mean, talk about falling off from their projection in their week one, scores. I mean, this was really more. So I think this game is more a story of just Nick and Jamie not performing versus the Blues. I mean, they only got 118. So 31 from Cousins, which okay. AJ Brown, I'm assuming this is in. Okay. He got only 7.3. Jefferson 18.5, 22.5 for Eckler, who comes back. Mixon with only 8.1. He had like 25 the first week or something. 9 from Hooper, 6.8 from Galladay, 6 points from Gould, and 9 from the Denver defense. Nothing on the bench either. I mean, this team just does not impress me, but they still get the win. So, let's look at the other side. So, first of all, Dak Prescott comes down to earth from week one. Everybody's touting him as the next coming. And he only ends up getting 7.48 points.
I knew that was going to happen to Tyreek Hill. I mean, the Ravens were going to take him away.
Yeah. 1.9 from Landry. Elliott, I mean, he's been outplayed by Pollock, but I mean, still a decent score there with a 17.7. Not even a decent. That's a good score. He actually exceeded his projection.
What did in week one? This is back-to-back weeks. He's impressed.
Yeah, 11 and 17.
Yeah, he had that big 40-yard rush Singletary in the beginning of the game, and he had literally nothing after that. So,
but he didn't need to in this game because it just was not. Yeah. So you take that and you go home with it. I mean, Kelsey.
They were actually giving it to Zach Moss at the goal line.
Yeah, that is concerning. But it's also a question of if they're going to give it to Zach Moss when it's not Miami and the game is actually on. I mean, they probably will, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
Kelsey, 23 points. I mean, Kelsey, obviously. I mean, so they're very reliant on Hill and Kelsey. If Kelsey doesn't perform, if Hill doesn't live up to his end of the bargain, you see the difference there. 6 from Suckup, and the Giants only got 1 point.
Deebo Samuel also has been pretty good. What did he score week one? I think it was 20 plus.
31.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at this, 31 and 16.
Yeah, he came down. Well,
he's been good. He had a terrible year last year, but he's picked it up this year.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Nothing really much to speak on the bench.
So I posed you the same question that I posed to the Whalers. Is this the real Nick and Jamie? And will we be seeing more of these performances going forward?
Yes.
Without a doubt.
I think Prescott is not going to be scoring 7.4 every week. I mean, I think he's not going to be what he was last week, but I think he's a consistent 15 to 20 point performer. And then Hill, you're not going to expect 5 points from him.
Well, look, I will also say this. Nick and Jamie are very good at drafting as well. And spending their money wisely. I mean, they also have Landry on the IR now. We'll see. I mean, look, I agree. Prescott, I think it's the same kind of thing. I think that he's, I think that you could expect much better games than this from Prescott, but I don't think they're going to see this kind of stuff that you saw in the first game of the year. Tyreek Hill, this is an aberration. So, look, they have a decent base. I think that they're.
They're going to replace Landry, obviously, but if they roll out this exact same lineup next week, do they win?
Depends on who they're playing, and we'll actually go over that later. But I don't know.
What I'm saying is, is this core core lineup of their guys good enough to carry them into the playoffs.
It's good enough to compete. To carry them into the playoffs, sure.
Good enough to compete. Meanwhile, the Blues, that lineup is not good enough.
No, this is as good as the Blues can do, and it's not very good.
This might be the new garbage barge.
Yet he's 1-1, so I mean we can't.
I love Manny Friedman. He minces no words. Right to the garbage. He takes one look. One look is all garbage barge.
I mean, there's not a single guy there where I'd be like, yeah, I would like him on my team. Maybe Jefferson. He was good for me last year, but that's about it.
Eckler, your buddy Eckler, you had him last year.
That was the first year. All right.
Yeah. I mean, Will Fuller's sitting there. I mean, we'll see if he ever decides to play. Is he playing yet? Wow, he's back at practice on Wednesday.
He's back with the team, remember?
Right, exactly. He's actually joining them. It's nice of him. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I mean, just like I say in the NFL season, it's also it's too early to tell on a lot of this stuff, so we'll see. But Nick and Jamie are usually a bubble team. I think they'll be a bubble team again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the Blues. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. He has fallen apart ever since that Odell Beckham $60. I don't know what happened at this organization since then. Which brings us to
let's not keep the fan waiting.
Yeah, let's not keep the fan waiting. Although he's he's very not happy after this week. So I'm sure he's going to be looking. He's going to be searching. He's going to be searching for. I'm sure you have, but he's going to be searching for 1,000-word apologies for anything. So be very careful about what you say. He's worse than a Gen Zer in your 90s DMs or whatever in your 90s posts. So Dylan Trey comes back and or whatever when
QB performance. Wow.
Yeah, 141.50 to 127.27. 24, excuse me. So is this a matchup of the last two center champs? Actually, yes, it is. Look at that. So 39.10 for Kyler Murray. This guy's for real, but so is Brady on the other side, by the way, 39.64 points. McLaurin, he's also for real, by the way, 27.7, and then 19 for Calvin Ridley, 24.5 for Mike Evans, but only 5 for Amari Cooper. Gibson, his vaunted Gibson, 9.30 points, whereas Henderson got 17.2, but he got a little bit injured at the end of the game. And look, he's got the questionable tag now. 12.5 for Edmonds. And David Montgomery, everybody's favorite trade bait with 10.9 points. I mean, that's dangerously close to going into single digits. I know. It might be time to move him. Higbee, who I've gotten, I think everybody's gotten an offer for Higbee, right? I mean, who has not gotten an offer? Raise your hand if you've gotten an offer for Higbee.
I'll have to check my
yeah. Thomas with 9.5, 19 for Deontay Johnson, 13.4 for Chase, 5 for the Kickers, 8 for the San Francisco Defense, and 1 for Pittsburgh, coming back down to earth from last week where they got 16 against me. But look, okay, so let's see if there's any bench blunders in this. Brandon Cooks 22.8. Ooh, I mean, this could have been a real good game for Kimmel. Yeah, Ingram 5. Let's see. Aaron Rodgers, obviously. So this is the other reason why he's trying to shop him now, because he got 34 because he played one game where he looks like he cares. 6.3 from Hunt, 8.6. Swift, who's now made a swift exit from the team and has a questionable tag. And yeah, so
is questionable referring to the trade or his health status?
I don't know.
Is that what the Q means?
Exactly.
Well, Saquon is questionable too.
The whole thing's questionable.
The whole thing is just Look, you know, I look till.
Look. After the first two players, I mean, Eugene looks hot. I mean, from McLaurin down after McLaurin. Now, granted, there's some injuries in here, 3 of them, but is this a team to be reckoned with? I mean, let's say McLaurin and Brady have average games. How many games do they win? Let's cut Brady's score in half or McLaurin's score in half. I mean, are you scared of this team?
Well, that's what I'm hoping for this week.
I'm always scared of Eugene's teams, mostly because if they win, I have to hear about it.
He's always Redskin heavy.
He is. I mean, I have come to the realization, or I'm of the look. I have a completely different mindset than him when it comes to this. First of all, I think that he's constantly trying to trade his way into things, and I just feel like this league doesn't want to trade as much. I don't know. I mean, there's always suckers. Hell, I don't know. I mean, look, I know that this team to him is great, and look, they had 127 points, so it's not anything to sneeze at, but these are not the types of players that I would like, particularly in like. So I mean, he clearly wants to get Kittle for me. He wants a tight end because he's not happy with Higbee.
I offered him Font, and he didn't want him.
Yeah, because he wants big name players. He just wants the superstars on his team, like Saquon.
Font has been outperforming Higbee because Stafford goes to Cooper Kupp.
He doesn't want
80% of the time.
He doesn't just want to outperform his own players. He's looking for blockbuster deals. That's why he stacks his bench with a bunch of movable players. That's why he has 2 quarterbacks like Brady and Aaron Rodgers, so he can just offload one of the two. And he sees that Brady's the one that actually wants to play this year, so he wants to offload Aaron Rodgers. And but I just don't. I have a completely different philosophy than him, and maybe it works for him. Maybe, and look, clearly he was able to pull off a trade and one that he's happy with. But I mean, like, I looked at his team and I was just like, there is nobody that I would want in there, except for maybe McLaurin. But I personally am heavy in wide receivers, so I don't need it. But like, all right, I'd give you that McLaurin and Tom Brady are certainly, and you can make a case for Deontay Johnson, but there's nobody else there's nobody that, or David Montgomery. I mean, like, but because of volume, but there's nobody that just likes her, I don't know.
But what did Higbee get in week 1?
I mean, it's all going a cup over there, but what did he get in week 1? He got 11.
Okay, so 11. So he wants Kittle, which is one of the higher end tight ends.
Right. But I'm sure he's probably made offers for Kelsey.
What's he going to offer for that?
Aaron Rodgers.
What did he offer you for Kittle?
Aaron Rodgers.
Of course.
Because that's what he wants to offload. He tries this. I mean, that's his strategy essentially. Is he will, look, I think it works in most fantasy leagues. I think that it's not a bad strategy. I think he drafts mid-tier players all the way up and down that are not that are not household names, except for maybe the quarterback where you can get a household name for less. But I think that, and then he tries to move them because he has such a deep bench. And I think that was the thing from his team from the beginning, is that he is a deep bench of very good average players. But am I like, are there superstars on this team? I mean, other than Tom Brady and
McLaurin, is definitely
McLaurin is legit. I have no problem with McLaurin, but I still, I mean, like, you don't think of him as a superstar. I mean, but he may be I mean, like this is kind of getting into the weeds about what
here's
Lombardi used to call like a high end, wide receiver one. Whereas, one thing that I will say for Eugene is that he will go and get the players that, regardless of the name recognition, he will get them, even if they're, go ahead.
If you look up and down the roster, this is where the auction, this is where the wizard gets exposed and the curtain falls down. This is what happens when you hold $186 deep into the auction. You like you said, you draft a bunch of mediocre players and you try and package them up, and trade your way. There's nothing wrong trying to trade your way into contention. But like you said, Eugene, I guess, presents these players as premier high-end top players. But if you look from McLaurin down, I mean, are any of these guys anything more than close, pretty much just outside the dumpster, mediocre players?
Yeah, they're middle of the pack.
Pretty much all of them are middle of the road, right?
I have to say, when he was offering me trades this week, like they were not Shafto trades. I mean, the first offer he made was for Deontay Johnson and Kareem Hunt for Saquon. I couldn't accept it because Deontay's hurt now and Kareem Hunt's the backup. So that's.
See, this is an interesting episode where I wish Eugene was actually here, because we're kind of taking like a more of a critical, in-depth look at the team, and I would like to see what he says about most of these players. I mean, clearly these are mediocre performers.
He doesn't think so.
I was there when he was offering, and then he was offering him counter offers.
I actually think in his heart of hearts, he probably thinks they're mediocre, but he doesn't sell it that way because he's always looking to trade them away. He's a salesman, right? So, I looked at also his roster and I wanted to offer him a tight end to get more value for myself, and I was trying to get Hunt and Swift, and I was going to offer him Font, because like if you look at his roster, he only has Higbee. So if Higbee gets hurt, who's not that great anyway, he's screwed at tight end. He's got no one else at tight end.
And you said he was actually getting annoyed that you were offering him counter offers for Saquon.
He was getting a little annoyed, but after some discussion, he wasn't annoyed. It's just, he didn't agree with it.
So why would you take? I mean, clearly tight end is a area.
It's a weak spot for him, and I have a spare kind of. I mean, I wouldn't call.
So it's the same kind of philosophy,
right? But when you're trading, you got to look at positions. Like trading a top tier running back for a top tier wide receiver is not equitable because it's much harder to get a good running back.
Absolutely
right?
Agree.
Mm-hmm. So you got to look at positions when considering trade value. You can't just like give a mediocre receiver for, a decent running back. That's not even.
But he has a lot of running backs, so he's trading. I feel like he's trading decent running backs for the positions that he wants to fill. Whereas I think
if you're going to trade a running back, then you can offer, like, I feel like you need a running back plus like a kind of a, if you're going to get like a worse running back, then you got to package him up with a receiver or a tight end.
I mean, if Eugene ended up with a team more like Tillett's, like Tillett actually did a pretty good job. I mean, look at Kyler Murray is solid. I mean, Ridley, Evans. I mean, it goes back and forth between Edmonds and Godwin. You can argue that. Henderson was a great pick before he got hurt. Edmonds gives you a solid double digits. This guy, Jamar Chase at the bottom, he's going to be a superstar. I mean, I gotta tip my hat to Tillett Trey. He did some pretty fine drafting as well, and he didn't wait until right before the dumpster.
And he's done this all under the radar also. Like, I think that he's, I mean, like I think that these are very good players, but not like the absolute superstars where everybody's going after them, like the ones that you're just going to pay through the nose for. I feel like I feel like it's kind of similar between these two teams in terms of the way that they kind of drafted, but I think that the quality, like, I feel like and I'm going to have to write 1,000-word apologies for this, but I feel like it's a more middle of the road players for Eugene, whereas it's a little bit higher up for Tillett, but maybe not as deep. I feel like the bench is a little bit deeper for Eugene, but I also think that Tillett has the philosophy of, at least he has in the past, that it's very hard to trade in this league because everybody's always trying to shaft you. And I'm not saying that Eugene is trying to shaft people this year, because I actually don't think that he is. I think, from what I've seen, at least, he has made legitimate offers. Me personally, I like the deals just they're not what I'm looking for, but I don't think that anything that he was offering was unreasonable. I should say anything that he was offering to me was unreasonable. There might be others to other players, but I just think that I just don't like the personnel is just not.
Well, he's grown up from a straight up shaft. Now he's more clever.
But I feel like he doesn't put positions into account. He doesn't look at a position that another player might need and offer equitable trade value for that.
Perhaps
that's my criticism of his trade philosophy. But
by
no means it was a shafted trade. Like I traded a running back for a running back, so I thought it was pretty even. But when you take positions into account, that's a big factor.
Look, I think that as far as that trade, like I said, we're pretty close to being able to get to that section of this discussion, or that we could just have it now. I think the thing about that trade is that it's a high upside trade for Eugene, potentially. He's taking on a gamble for that, but he's not, Swift has been good, but he's not been, what has he done so far? First of all, this is the other thing. Where is he? Where is this guy? Swift, there he is. So 24 and 11. That's a pretty decent scoreline. Whereas you look at Saquon, his scoreline has been terrible, but the theory is that he's going to be, much better than that as the season goes along. So he's taking a gamble on it. And notice, but here's the other thing that Eugene does, and I don't necessarily fault him for this, but every one of the trades that he offers comes from his bench. You're never going to see a starter on his team being offered. And look, and that's because he has a deep bench. It's not a criticism of, more power to him to have a deep bench, to be able to have expendable players to try to improve your main roster. It's not a criticism, but I'm just saying, look, as a team, even if I were to, me personally, if I was going to get involved in a trade, I want to be involved in a trade. I want it to hurt a little for the other guy, I don't want to just take it on the chin. And then, because it's not just, I'm not just gifting you stuff. I have to play in the league with you still. So if you're just giving me your bench guys for one of my starters, what does that do?
Yeah.
That does, it's got to hurt a little, I think.
Well, he's graduated from picking up three free agents and just handing them to you.
Yeah, no, he has. He has. I'm actually not critical of his trading philosophy. I
think this season, more than others, we kind of really see the draft philosophy and see which one is going to prevail, because these two teams, I think they're epitome of middle of the road guys, that are they're all kind of decent players, but nothing special really. Whereas a Geza has a Dalvin Cook and a Derrick Henry, and Whalers has a McCaffrey and a Hopkins, So I think we can really see the difference in philosophies and see which one prevails,
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be interesting that way.
It is going to be interesting.
All right. So I don't really want to take it. Does anybody need a break or anything?
Nope.
Yeah. Just give me 2 minutes.
Well, we're just going to give the entire audience a break in that case, and we'll go to a commercial. Well, not a commercial, but we'll go to the little screen in between. We'll take a break. We'll take an actual break. So, all right, we'll be right back right after this. All right, welcome back to the show. All right, so where we left off, are we going to discuss the well, we'll get into the transactions right now. So take a look at that. So obviously the first part of the transaction is let's see what happened yesterday. there was a lot. So okay, so first of all, did you the hagglers tried to spend the remainder of their money, but just were outbid first.
Foiled by the whalers.
Foiled by the whalers by what was it? $2?
$2.
Yep. And that was over Rondell Moore. Yeah. Yes. So first of all, Cordell Patterson. So this pissed me off because so after the morning games on Sunday, I dropped somebody who was awful. I don't even remember who. And I was trying to decide whether or not I was going to pick up Cordell Patterson or this other guy in San Diego who they said was going to be the new Eckler or something, like because Eckler had moved because Justin Jackson wasn't, I don't know, whatever. And so I picked up the other guy, and I should have picked up Cordell Patterson. And then I didn't, and then it was too late. And then he was in, in a bidding war, and I bid a little bit for him, but whatever. And then of course Daniel Jones goes for $45. That $45 had you bid. I mean, first of all, an outlandish bid, but whatever. Such is life. That's of the hagglers. They view money as nothing.
Friedman, look at those numbers. Look at
that. What is that even?
Sorry. Pharmacy.
What was that?
Nothing.
We're just talking about business, even though we're actually in the middle of a podcast, which nobody even whatever. Do you want to talk about some prescriptions right now? Because that's clearly what the fans of the show are looking for. Talk to us about Keytruda. I always see Keytruda ads. What are they? What is that?
I have no idea. We report to Benjamin Franklin, not to CBS.
Mm-hmm.
No, right. Okay. So moving on. I have a fever, and the only prescription is more players. So here, so Rondell Moore, the $22, the winning bid. Both of you bid on it, yes. By the way, $20. You both were outbid by the Whalers.
That's all I had left. I couldn't go $1 more.
I really wanted him.
Interesting that the finest would have had priority on this one, by the way. Ooh. 16 for Eugene wanted him, and then $5 for Grocky Kong. Cordell Patterson, 25 for Grocky Kong, 20 for me, and 20 for Dave Secret Crush. The Buffalo defense, wow, $7 was the bid, awarded to you. The Crush bid 5, 2 from the Whalers, and then McKissick, your season goodbye, goes to you for $20, 15 from Grocky Kong, 5 from me, and then Zamunda put in 2. Yes, and then of course we look at the trades, or the trade that happened. Yeah, I mean, do we have to go into? So, I mean, my feeling about this is like, the risk is on him. It's yeah.
I mean, but garbage. It's garbage for garbage.
That's in reality, on paper. So this is what we're talking about in terms of a quote unquote Le'Veon Bell trade as Geese walks away. So why don't you inform our Padawan about?
So Le'Veon Bell, what was it, 2-3 seasons ago? And I traded away Le'Veon Bell for, can't remember the guy. Who the hell was the guy? Pittman? What the hell was his name on Tampa?
Rojoke? Was it Rojoke even?
No, it wasn't Rojoke. It was the running back on Tampa Bay. I think his name was Pittman. I don't remember his name anymore. And then Stephon Diggs.
I don't think it was.
And then the league went into an uproar.
Was it Diggs?
It was Diggs because he was on Minnesota. And then immediately after the trade, he got hurt. And then the running back from Tampa Bay was pure human garbage. And then the league went into an uproar about equitable trades and et cetera, et cetera. And then so I never heard the end of it for the Le'Veon Bell trade until finally beating Eugene in the playoffs. He used Le'Veon Bell and still lost. And then finally that put an end to it. But it became known as a Le'Veon Bell type of trade. So I don't see where.
I mean, this was the season. So like transactions. Okay, so we can actually see this. So this was the year. So trades. We can actually find this out for you. Stephon Diggs, Doug Martin.
That was it. So would you trade Stephon Diggs and Doug Martin for Le'Veon Bell? I mean, you got to figure this was a couple seasons ago where Le'Veon Bell was a hot commodity. And looking back on it now, I mean, I guess I had justification for a reason. That's probably why.
And ironically, it was with Eugene, and then Lombardi was losing his shit because you were giving him Le'Veon Bell.
Yes.
So the idea is you're trading somebody with a big name like that for lesser players, but somebody with a big name that is underperforming. And you ended up, obviously, as we can, see from the main page, you ended up in that position, and Eugene. If we take a look at the standings,
he was 9-4, but I mean, where were we that season? We were 7-6.
Actually, you played him in the playoff game, right? Wasn't it?
Le'Veon Bell, yep.
Yeah, and then that was you beat him 109-98. So interesting.
I mean, look at those to advance to a championship, 109.
I don't even want to talk about the ridiculousness of that season, but whatever, and that playoff run, but whatever. Anyway, the point is yes, so it is very similar to that kind of trade when he got Le'Veon Bell. Now he's trying to get himself Saquon, which is the same kind of thing. He's getting him a name, except this time he's not even giving you two; he's just giving you one. So
let me make this very clear. I don't give a shit about name value. I give a shit about points, and Saquon has been giving 0 points. So he's gone. He's fired. I mean, he cost my team 2 wins, arguably. I can't even blame Aaron Jones, the Tanyans of the world. I have to put all the blame on Saquon. I mean, I can't have my, RB1 scoring 8 points. And I'm not a very patient guy. Once you underperform on my team, you're out. So,
but you'd rather have DeAndre
Well,
Swift.
Swift has been putting up points.
He got 11 points, so it's 3 points. It's a 3-point difference in these last week.
I averaged the first game, and then he's a decent option in PPR. Daniel Jones, he just keeps the ball nowadays. He just, that's probably why Geza picked him up for $45 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, I think what Dave's trying to say is like you paid $65 for him in the draft or the auction.
Well,
and you're trading for somebody on Eugene's bench.
Well,
we got 3 more points than your guy this week.
I was hoping to get, because I thought there might be some Giants fans in this fantasy league. I thought someone would overpay for him. And I thought someone might hit the button and go for 65 or something, or 70 due to his upside. It just didn't happen, and I ended up with him. But
it's so dangerous in this league. I mean, it's what happened to Whalers. It happened to me years ago with Le'Veon Bell, where I was actually trying to outbid Lombardi's computer, and that was the year that Le'Veon Bell that was not even. What was the shenanigans that happened? That he wasn't even playing. That was James Conner's first year. He held out for like half the season. The thing that I've discovered in this league is you have to either just go. You can't play shenanigans by trying to.
Funny, you should keep the cursor where it is, because right there, Wilson shenanigans you're doing. That's when Manny woke up, and he was on the verge of grabbing Derek Carr right there.
Yeah,
I had him
on my phone.
And then you put it back. Yep.
But I had to drop someone. Had I not had to drop someone, I would have snatched him up.
Yeah, I mean, for me. Yeah, so I picked up Carr, and the reason why is because Tannehill has not like that offense is just not doing enough. They're also handing it off to Henry. So Tannehill, even though he might be getting the yardage, he's just not throwing for the touchdowns, and he's not really rushing for that much. And Derek Carr has been performing really well. Whether or not he sustains that, I don't know. But he's the only thing. He's the best thing that's left in this.
I was actually surprised that Gaza was going for Daniel Jones. I actually thought he was going to go for Carr.
I don't know. You can answer that.
I had my
yeah, but I don't know. But anyway, but back to the earlier point, and then we can get discussing these other ones. I just think in the auction, at least, you can't. You can't. And I've learned this a long time ago. You have to, if you press the button for a bid, you have to be pressing it with the idea that I'm going to get this bid every time you press it. If you want to like raise the price on somebody else, and that's the only reason you're doing it, you're going to get stuck with that player. So go in with the mindset of when I'm pressing this, it could be the bid that I get.
Well, credit to the league. No one fell for it. And I was the one that ended up with that hot garbage. And now it's on Eugene's team. So we'll see.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, so you picked up Sony Michel. That was an interesting, and Slayton, actually, who Geese, I think, was looking at. Geese picked up Madison to back up Dalvin Cook in case there's an injury going on there. You picked up Ruggs also because you saw that I picked up Carr. A lot of gamesmanship since we're playing each other this week. I know. So you picked up.
We're ready.
I know. As we are preparing for you as well. As far as this other stuff, I don't really. I mean, I didn't understand this with the blue. I mean, actually, so this was the interesting thing. I never heard of Felton or Osborne. I had no idea. And the Lombardi, he's doing this act and whatever this text group that I'm in where he's just like, I don't watch. I mean, maybe it's not an act, but he's like, I don't even watch. Oh, I didn't even know that Tom Brady is Brady having a good year this year. I'm not even paying attention. Like, I have no idea. I'm just a caveman. But then he picks up these players and like, we were like, I was like, who is Felton or Osborne? And this was not auction, whatever. Like, he picked this up in the middle of the day. He clearly, and then I looked at these people. And I'm like, wow, you really researched this. So you are so full of shit. He's clearly either watching it or very involved in his decisions, because I mean, like, these guys, I mean, like, they were completely off the radar. Yeah.
No, I was looking at KJ Osborne. I just ran out of room.
Right. Well, I mean, Felton got 13. So, okay, like, this was maybe a fluke, but still 13. And then Osborne, like, look at him. I mean, 14 and 20, like, I don't know. I mean, like, clearly that is somebody who has been paying attention if you're looking at those guys, I think, at least. Because
Yeah, he didn't just pick those names out of a hat.
Exactly. And his claim that he did is absurd. That I just happened to pick up Felton. Absurd. All right, let's look at
this man got 24 points last week.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how that happened. I just like the name Felton. All right. In fact, I'm gonna name my second kid Felton. Demeritric Felton. Anyway, let's looking forward to this week's games. Well, I don't think we start there. I mean, or do we? Do we just start here? Do we get it over with?
If you want to.
I mean, sure. It's a rematch of the championship from years ago. I mean, All right. Let's. So the project
the season for a Hagler's 1603ers matchup. I got to tell you, this is a little bit of a concern with all the Qs over there, especially the Cook one. I guess it finally got released that he tweaked his ankle.
But you have Madison.
Yep, he's hot garbage, but at least we don't have to bid because we have no money left. Yeah, things are looking a little bit dicey here. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things that the 1603ers are going to do that we're going to counter once we see them do it. Because they're going to be getting on a plane and they have to make their moves before they get on the plane.
That is true.
Pay for Wi-Fi.
We will be
cheap to pay for Wi-Fi on a plane.
Well, we are flying first class, so I've already ordered my meal. As I said, I got the chicken. What did I say? Let's look at my reservation. I want to make sure that you all know how how this half lives. Um, yes, I have selected the roasted chicken clementine. So,
I see.
Delicious.
Well, and Dr. Hockey learned last week projections mean nothing.
Right.
So
I will be visiting Dr. Hockey theoretically also. Kind of. He's supposed to be there. Well, I'm not visiting him. He's supposed to be in Dallas at the same time. That's why I picked this. I was going to do this anyway.
You can buy Hockey Valdez Scantling jersey.
I can.
To commemorate his week 2 performance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we said, we overpaid for a couple of these players. Let's see. Hopefully they'll perform better this week. It seems like you said, if you pay people, they really don't do anything. So hopefully Patterson does something, and because he got paid. Kirk, see, this is where it hurts with the Whalers Raccoon $2 outbid. Kirk has been taking a backseat to this Rondale Moore guy, which is really pissing me off. So he would have been a nice guy to slide into the lineup. And if you scroll down, I mean, this guy, Jamison Clam Crowder, bopping his banana is still questionable as far as I'm. No word on him, huh?
He didn't practice on Wednesday.
Did not practice.
He apparently suffered a setback with his groin last Friday. I mean, it's Friday night. You can't help what happens with your groin on a Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What could you be doing with your groin on a Friday night that you would suffer a setback?
I would stay away from anyone on that Jets offense.
I think this man has more than groin issues at this point. This man needs help, and I hope he gets a support group. That's absolutely horrible. Probably going to be seeing a lot of Madison, and I mean, this is going to be a nightmare. I mean, this might be the first L of the year. I mean, on the other side of the ball, Dave Harbakin's lineup looks like it's pretty much set. I mean, hopefully.
I mean, we pretty much have Popeil players. The only question mark that I have at this point is Tannehill or Carr. And so
Carr's a little bit dinged up.
Yeah, but he is dinged up, but he got the healthy report today. So he's not even on the questionable thing. But the question is, so Carr is playing Miami at home, and Miami's been terrible. But I mean, if you notice the scores of so this is the problem with the early in the season. It's very small sample size. So you had New England the first week. And then this last week, I mean, what's his name? Allen only got 20 points. So is it like, but Carr himself has been doing amazingly. Like, is this one of those games that's just like enticing, but it's not going to actually portend well or not? And then Tannehill.
Is Jacob still hurt?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So they're running.
So he's going to be flinging. He should be flinging the ball, but
Mm-hmm.
But then you have Tannehill in there, and now he's had, like, the first game was atrocious. The second game, he had a good game, but he keeps handing it off to Henry. But here's the thing: Indianapolis is terrible on defense, and they have, the quarterbacks that they have played have scored very well in the games they played against them. So, I'm torn. I'm torn, and I don't know where I'm leaning between the two. Now, there's also the question of Wentz and whether or not Wentz is going to play and how that will affect Taylor. I still don't. I mean, I'm not prepared to play Pollock at this point, even though he's been pretty damn good. And he's on my radar to play, but so I don't know. We will see how this goes. Right now, the projection is 135.95 to 122.26. As we said, projections mean nothing, but look, I think if you analyze this game, I think we have the advantage at wide receiver between Lockett and Jones versus Kirk and Patterson. I think at running back, you have the advantage between Cook and Henry. I think Jones is obviously not going to do what he did this last week. And Taylor very well could suffer if Wentz is not in there, or he could or they could go very run heavy and he ends up doing even better. So I don't know on that. Kittle's been a huge disappointment. Gronk has been great. So I think I give you the advantage there. Woods will do better, I think, most likely.
What's the cue on Mitchell? What's his latest shenanigan?
He is shoulder, not practicing Wednesday.
Shoulder, not.
Your shoulder for to run.
And what are they trying to get? They're trying to give to Colabar Minor, give you the game.
I mean, you could play rugs or whatever, which is what you plan on doing anyway. But so, I mean, but even if you put, I mean, so
I mean, Aaron Jones. I mean, obviously he was great last week, but the Packers always struggle when they play in San Francisco.
Yeah, I don't think that he's gonna have. I mean, like, I think he'll have a decent game.
Yeah, 11, 12 points maybe, but
yeah, but I'm certainly giving the edge in running back to his running backs, and I think you got to give the edge to my receivers over his. I think you give the edge to his quarterback, especially going against Atlanta.
Yeah, the Seattle Minnesota game will also be a shootout, and Lockett has been getting probably way more than Metcalf this year. Last year was like one or the other. This year it's like way more Lockett. Doesn't make sense because like Metcalf is way more athletic, but I don't think he knows how to
Lockett's
run routes.
faster. Yeah. I think Lockett gets open and he just creates more separate. I don't know.
He also knows how to run routes. Like Metcalf is dumb.
So yeah, and then as far as I mean, I don't think the kicker.
I don't think you give the edge in running backs with Cook hurt. I think now it's much more even.
We'll see.
To be hurt, or he's just questionable.
Well, look at
his
questionable little cue. What is? Did he not practice like everybody else?
Nobody on the Agos practice. Did not participate in Wednesday's practice.
Well, Harbacken, that's going to be
nobody. Apparently, the Hagglers just didn't hold practice on Wednesday.
Well, who needs practice?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I do think that you have an edge in defense. By the way, Arizona against Jacksonville. That is
they got 0 last week. You think so?
It doesn't matter. They're playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville is terrible, and the Rams are playing Tampa Bay. But like I said, they're a Popeil defense. So I think this is closer than the projection is saying. I think
I give the edge to Dave's team.
I got to give the edge to Dave's team with this mess of injuries and not practicing.
Well, I never picked myself, so I'm going to give the edge to Geese.
What's your predicted record from Yahoo now? 2-12?
Oh yeah, let's The original prediction after draft day was 0-14.
Yours?
Yeah, I didn't get any apologies from Yahoo.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. You need 1,000-page apology or 1,000-word apology.
That's quite the record.
I was supposed to go. I mean, I'm on the cusp of not being able to meet it. I was only supposed to have one loss, and I only have one loss. So
you're on the brink. You're on the
which really bodes.
Would have been 2 had it not been for Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the week that you really stick it to Yahoo by beating me. So yeah, that's the analysis of that game. Let's move on to the next game. Manny, your game is going to go last because you're going against our fan.
Our only fan.
Yeah. All right. So we can just move down the line. We can go Lightning Rods versus Tillet Trey.
This is a very good matchup. Both of these teams have firepower. Murray Mahomes is an excellent matchup.
Yeah, Murray. Yeah, I mean that's fantastic. But Murray going against Jacksonville, Mahomes going against the Chargers. I mean, look, the Chargers you can score against them too. And then he's got. I mean, he's gonna be watching that game because he got Allen against Tennessee. Metcalf, who Manny just called what did he call him? An idiot or dummy?
Dumb.
He's dumb. The dumb Metcalf. D. That's what the D in Metcalf stands for. Dumb Metcalf.
Dumb Metcalf.
It's playing at Minnesota.
What
Ridley?
I don't know.
Right. So Ridley against the Giants, and they gave it up to McLaurin last week. Mike Evans, it's the carousel over there in Tampa Bay. Does he get it? Is he the one that Tom Terrific shines his gazing eye on for playing against the Rams? Henderson, he's still questionable playing at Tampa Bay or versus Tampa Bay. And then Edmonds at Jacksonville. I mean, like, there's a lot of opportunity for Tillett here. I mean, he's still going with Johnson over there. Come on, man. And then Moss versus Washington. I mean, come on. Hawkinson has been really good this season. In fact, Eugene, why don't you direct your cannons that way if you're really looking for a tight end? Thomas has been decent. Brandon Cooks against Williams. His Cook's done this year. Oh yeah, wow! Look at that. That's quietly been doing well, but he doesn't have. He's not going to have Tyrod Taylor anymore. What has Williams done? Wow! Look at the wow! Look at that.
How did that fly off the radar?
I don't know. Completely off the radar. New Orleans against New England. That's an interesting pick right there. And then Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati. I think that they'll do fine. I gotta give it to Tilla Trey in this one. I'm sorry, that running back core over in the Lightning Rods town is just not. And
my nemesis, of course, I'm going to give it to Tilla Trey.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's much more here to say. I just think, I think it's a good quarterback matchup, but then
it's horrendous.
Yeah, I know. I think Tillett actually goes 3-0.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think he gets Gillis lead. I think Lightning Rods gets.
Who do they have on their benches?
Anybody that looks enticing to you? Emmanuel Sanders. I mean,
yeah.
No, never mind. What's the deal with Josh Jacobs? Because this is obviously what remain sidelined at Wednesday's practice, so he's also.
Oh, you can just trade him to the Hagglers. He'll fit right in.
Exactly.
I mean, he has an empty bench spot. I mean, if there's someone on the waiver wire, there must be someone better than.
Wait a minute. Has he had Hockenson this whole time, and he's just been playing Pittman? What's going on here? Was there a trade for Hockenson, or did he just have Hockenson? We just talked about. And when did he play Pitt? I don't know. Whatever. I don't even pay attention to what I'm saying on the show. Anyway, whatever. Okay. I mean, Tilla Trey.
No, did Tilla Trey go down to his bench?
I'm on his bench. This is his bench.
I thought I saw Roundtree somewhere.
Robinson.
Robinson. I'm seeing things.
Yeah, I know. You're seeing things. I'm hearing things. Whatever. All right. Time to speed this up. All right, let's move on to the next game. The Burner team versus Zamunda.
Well,
all right.
He's playing a 2-0 team, so maybe it'll draw some interest.
maybe he's fine.
The man who can't be bothered with football.
He can't be bothered. 140.58 to 137.72 in this projection. This is a close projection. So you have Russell Wilson at Minnesota against Lamar Jackson at Detroit. So this is a good QB battle. Robinson at Cleveland, Devontae Adams at San Francisco. You were just talking about the Green Bay offense in San Francisco. CeeDee Lamb versus Cup. Ooh, Cup is going to win that one. But CeeDee Lamb, everybody was all big on CeeDee Lamb, and he's going against Philadelphia, division rival on Monday night. Ooh. Chubb and Edwards-Helaire. That's going to be a problem there.
The Harris thing got broken up.
Oh, look at this. Kenyon Drake coming in there. I guess it's the backup for
Jacobs.
Yeah, for Jacobs. And
I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. Never play Mike Gesicki. What has he done this year? First of all, the Dolphins are hard. Second, Tua's out. Third,
0
let's look at the point totals. Yeah.
Ugh.
Get that guy out of there.
Yeah.
I had him for a whole season. He's horrible.
Yeah. And then Pitt's, what do you call it?
I'm sorry. That's if you can be bothered.
Yeah, exactly. If you could be bothered to do anything.
I didn't mean to bother you. If it's too much of a bother, just leave him.
Yeah. So, and then who else? I mean, who cares about that? The Vegas defense against Miami, that could get them some points after they were shut out.
It requires powering on your computer. I'm sorry.
I know it's too much. And then, so there's a defensive advantage there for Zamunda. Wow, this is
Gronky Con just has too much going on here.
Do you? I mean,
yeah.
DJ Morals has been excellent.
Who's on his bench for Edwards-Helaire? Because I think he's going to way underperform. Sermon Murray.
Yeah, he doesn't really have much. Actually, my guy Williams, Tavon Williams, I think is his name. He's been the starting running back.
Tyson
Williams.
I mean, actually, surprisingly, so he's keeping Najee and Harris. I mean, both of the Harrises have been fine. Oh, I guess he's questionable over there. That's why he's doing that. So I actually think that this game is going to come. So Robinson versus Cleveland. I don't know. DJ Moore's been. What has this guy done? This is going to be the difference right here. This guy, no. That's where he's going to lose it.
Yeah.
All right.
And Gronky Kong has the edge at tight end. I don't think Devonta Adams is going to have a big game in San Francisco. Cup is a tough matchup against Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
The problem is they throw to him all the time. Stafford.
They throw to him all the time, but then also on top of that, yeah, it's a tough matchup against Tampa Bay. But so Tampa Bay is really good against the run. For fantasy purposes, especially, but look at that game with Dallas. It was a shootout. Everybody was getting points. So
Matt Ryan cut the lead from I think 28 to 3 to 28 to 25.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
I don't think that he's going to have any problems there. I'm still going to go with Gronky Kong. I think there's going to be a close game. If one player underperforms or one player overperforms, it can make the difference here, but I think Gronky Kong is going to win this, and maybe after 0-3, he can be bothered. The champ can be bothered to pay attention to some football.
Yeah, maybe just power on your computer and take a look at the roster every now and
slightly.
Sure.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so then moving on to Nick and Jamie versus the Disgruntled Whalers. All right, this is first ever rematch of the first ever champions.
This is the two teams that had a complete role reversal in week 2 with their point totals. Now let's see who's the real Slim Shady.
Exactly. This is this is a good matchup in terms of just history and all. This is the team. Remember the 180 playoff game. Between these two, there's
both
a lot
teams were red hot and cooled off. Now let's see what happens in the head-to-head.
Yeah, these are just always evenly matched teams. So the projection is heavily in favor of the Whalers, 142.49 to 125.77. You got Stafford going into Tampa Bay. We just talked about that. Prescott versus Philly.
It's the cooled off Prescott. You got to put that moniker in there in front of all of these players. Now, the much cooled off person versus the much cooled off person.
I know. Well,
but you do too much.
But you do have. But he is playing on Monday night. I think these quarterbacks will be about even-ish. So then Hopkins versus Tyreek Hill. These are also two superstars right there. What's with the question mark under DeAndre Hopkins? What's going on there? What's that, buddy? Ribs not practicing when nobody's practicing Wednesday. Yeah.
You know what? Just put all of these people
on. Landry and Thielen. So like I've been talking about, Thielen has been doing pretty well this year. Landry is on IR, so that's going to have an adjustment right there, and I'm sure Nick and Jamie will. Elliott, we'll see, and Singletary versus McCaffrey and Sanders. So, decent matchup there between McCaffrey and Elliott, even though, obviously give the edge to McCaffrey, but it's like a question of how much, and he's going against Houston, so that, and we'll see tomorrow night this is broadcasting on Thursdays, or this will be aired on Thursday, so tonight. And Elliott going on Monday night, so the exact opposite of that, the end of the week. So Singletary versus Sanders, both of them meh. Kelsey versus Goddard, obviously you got to give the edge there. Debo Samuel versus Mike Davis right now.
Horse his ass, Mike Davis? He's still in the league.
Yeah. What do we got on the bench? Because he's going to have to replace Landry right here with
Kobe Myers.
It's about time. Kobe Myers. They might go hard, man.
let's see. Myers. God, that's not very good. Hardman. What did the Hardman do? Nothing. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, they can move Debo into the. So they do have the option to use running back because they could move Debo up to wide receiver 1 and then maybe use Hines. Although I don't know with Wentz out. I mean, especially with those totals, they're in a predicament here.
Yeah. Well, Taylor has been horrible too, right?
Is the garbage name going to be thrown around?
Yes, this was the garbage. I don't think they were garbage barge. I just think that they I don't know. I think that this is and there's nobody. I mean, they're not raccoons like Whalers. I think that Whalers has enough to win this week.
So
and I like if Hopkins plays, the matchup against Jacksonville is great. I mean, Hill is going to have a big game, but
yeah,
McCaffrey is going to light it up against the Houston.
Yeah, I just think the matchups, and I think that this is a really nagging problem. I think Whalers wins this game.
Maybe garbage barge is too harsh. Maybe they're the raft of refuse. Maybe that's a little lighter.
Well, we'll see after this. We'll see after this week. Both of these guys were red hot after week 1, and now they've both cooled down. But now I think this is the time for Whalers to come back and win this game. All right, moving on to Cyberdyne versus Wakanda. Ooh.
Well, hockey can't do much worse than last.
So
he's Stanley. Oh, look who's already out of the lineup.
He's already out of the lineup. He's finally playing those bench blunders. So Wakanda is actually favored in this game, 139.23 to 134.61. It's 53% favored, so it's projected to be a close game. So Herbert at Kansas City. Now, Herbert's been doing well, but fantasy-wise, not as much. Kirk Cousin has been doing pretty damn well fantasy-wise, and he's playing against Seattle this week. So he's got Higgins and Shepard. Shepard playing against Atlanta and Higgins at Pittsburgh. And then you got A.J. Brown versus Indianapolis, which could potentially be a good game. And then Jefferson versus Seattle. I mean, is Kamara going to show up? I mean, the $104 man at New England? At New England? I mean, Eckler did show up last week at Kansas City. Mixon, he's been mixed, a Mixon to bag between the two games. Chris Carson has actually been decent from what I remember seeing, right? I'm not just imagining that. Let's see.
Where's Sterling? Oh, Sterling Shepard is in there. You're right. He's putting all the bench blunders into the game.
Yes, so Sterling Shepard against Atlanta. Marvin Jones Jr.
Performing.
And Marvin Jones Jr. has actually played really well, so that's a smart play there. Waller versus Miami.
Whoa,
I mean, that's a good play.
Now. That's a lineup.
I gotta say, I think that you can. I'm gonna give this one to Dr. Hockey.
I agree.
I don't see why Hockey doesn't win this with that lineup. If all those players perform like they did the last couple of weeks, that's a win.
It should be.
What's T. Higgins been doing? He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
He's probably dehydrated. That's the question.
15 and 16. So yeah. He should. I mean, look, AJ Brown has been okay. Both these guys are questionable on their wide receiver ones. But yeah, so 14.9 and 7.3, and frankly, what was a much better game for the team. Jefferson, he's been good. I'll tell you what this comes down to. Is Kamara going to live up to his $104 moniker, or is he going to get 7 points? Because that's going to make a huge difference right there if he doesn't. In which case, he has a real problem, and you might as well just sell him to Eugene, right?
Yeah.
But I am going with Dr. Hockey in this game. Okay, so that brings us, I believe, to our fans game. Is that correct? That is correct. All right. So
still traded. Oh no, we did. Lightning rounds still a trade?
No, we absolutely did. Lightning rounds still a tray.
Okay. Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
The fan gets the coverage now.
Yeah, so go ahead. I mean, so you've already been involved in. I rarely do you see a trade take place in a week where you're playing your opponent, but we have here. So we are going to see Swift versus Barkley. So let's see how that pans out. But why don't you go over your?
You might want to set up. I mean, you have half a head.
Right.
Half a head.
There you
go. So
head detective.
I actually think it's going to be a terrific game. I think it's pretty close all around. I like people tout the Washington defense, but then again, they gave up 29 points to the hard Giants. So I think they're slightly overrated. So I do think Allen and Diggs will do well. I'm looking for them to start their aerial attack, what they had last year, and put up a good performance. Sutton has been excellent. Without Jerry Jeudy there, he's been, that questionable tag is there, but I think he should play against a terrible Jets team. So I'm expecting big things from him. We'll see about Swift. Tough matchup against Baltimore, but, Goff has been going to him in the PPR. So I'm expecting some plays in the receiving game as well for him. Tyson Williams, he's been the starting running back there. Detroit obviously can't stop the run. We saw that last week. So I thought that would be a good play. Font against the Jets. I just preferred this. I know I'm Bronco heavy, but I preferred this matchup over Tanyan versus the 49ers. So I'm going with Font. Obviously Godwin against the Rams, and then Tucker in the Buffalo defense. As far as his team, Brady will have another big game. I'm not expecting 5 touchdowns against tough Rams defense. Hopefully Aaron Donald, put some pain on Brady. McLaurin, Buffalo's defense, they weren't tested against Miami. So I do think that he'll have a decent game, but not as, not as good as what he had last week. Cooper, we'll see. I think he's a little bit more than questionable. I think he had a pretty severe rib injury, so I'm hoping he doesn't play. Montgomery against Cleveland, he should be pretty good. Barkley against Atlanta, that's a good matchup, but we'll see. I just have no confidence in him. Gibson against Buffalo.
Just skipping over Higbee. He's not even.
Just skip over Higbee. He's going to be traded for the week before the game. So
exactly, he's going to find a way to get rid of him by then.
Yeah, and I do think San Francisco's defense will do pretty well against Green Bay. I don't think Green Bay was as good as they showed last week. The Lions are pretty hard, so I do pick San Francisco to win that game this week. So. As far as the game goes, I do think it's going to be close. I do think I favor myself slightly in terms of the matchups. But in terms of the personnel, it's pretty even. That's my take.
I think that you're going to lose because Barkley's playing Atlanta and Swift is playing Baltimore.
Well, knowing your superstitious self, that's what I expected.
So obviously you guys are going to be watching the Buffalo game because there's Allen, Diggs, and McLaurin in that game. So that has heavy implications there. Look, Denver has been doing well, and they've been and they're playing the Jets. So I don't think that you can go wrong with that play. So who could he I'm sure he has a million bench players. So he can play Deontay Johnson for Cooper there. Just plug him in there if he's not going to go.
Yeah, but is he going to keep Cooper in there hoping he plays on Monday night? That's the question.
What time is this game? 10 a.m. So he's going to have to make this decision early. He's got Ayuk if he decides to go that way. What has he been doing? So he doesn't have Ayuk. Yeah, never mind. yeah, he's gonna have to make the decision early. And is anybody going in the Thursday night game for you guys? Yeah, I don't know. So he'll have to, yeah. I mean, I guess he'll just have to monitor reports and see if there's any, if he starts practicing or whatever. Gibson in that flex spot. Look, it's close. The projection is close. You're a 54 to 46% favorite. I do think that Swift has a tough matchup, and I do think that Barkley has an easy one. And I think, if anything, that
if you look at the other, like Sutton and Font have really good matchups. Allen and Diggs have pretty good matchups. So I think, like, besides those two guys, you know, I know that's where the attention is due to the trade, but I'm actually looking at the other guys to even be more.
I mean, Font might actually. I mean, look, Font's going to outperform Higbee if he remains on the team. We might as well just plug in Hawkinson right there. And then, yeah, I don't know. I look, and you have the Buffalo defense going against Washington, so I think that's gonna net you more points than San Francisco. I still, I just don't want to. I don't want to.
Football gods are very fickle, man. One thing they frown upon is trading with your opponent during.
I know.
Well, you always, like, you guys are telling me that I traded with my opponent, but he traded with his opponent as well.
That's very crafty diversion.
So he's actually the one that offered me the trade. I mean, I countered, but he's the one that offered first. So you can argue that he's trading with me.
I don't.
So it might bite him in the ass too.
That is true too.
Trade himself.
I think that this. Let's just say I think that this game comes down to Swift versus Barkley. We'll see which one gets the better of it.
I can't say it on the air, but this reeks of shit.
Do you think so though? I mean, the Le'Veon Bell. I mean, because really, honestly, Manny is in the position that you were that year. So now, are you turning your back on your fellow Hackettownian in a very similar situation?
I mean, at the time, so let's look back at that. So at the time, I had Le'Veon Bell for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't doing jack squat. So that was my justification. I was tired of waiting. I was tired of him, and I traded him. So this is the exact same situation. He's tired of Saquon Barkley after 2 weeks. It's, we'll have to see how it plays out.
So you think Manny's going to be the champ?
Yeah, if history repeats itself.
Well, if history repeats itself, then he's going to go 0-5. So he's going to lose this game, and I'm going to stay with my original projection, which is that Eugene is going to win this game.
The Saquon name has lost steam. I mean, he's on a hard Giants team. It's the worst organization in football besides the Jets. They don't know how to, like, protect him. He gets hurt every year.
I agree with all of this. I think you could have gotten better than Swift for him. That being said, I think that this is a week where he actually has a good matchup. I don't think that he's going to be good all season. I have no problem with Barkley being traded away. I mean, and you're also at the point where you're trading him as low as you can go. I think if you would have held on to him this week, he would have had a big game and you could have sold high. You sold low and you sold for him for the Swiffer.
Yeah, I mean, he deserved to be fired, all right, off the team.
Look, sometimes you just want to get people off your roster and
get people, yeah. He was toxic to the rest of the team.
I know, he was just toxic. We'll see. But I am picking Eugene. I just don't. The default is that I don't want to write the 1,000-word apology anyway. All right. Michael Thomas, wow, has COVID-19. So add to all the other shit for this fucker. It had COVID on top of it. Oh my God, this clown. This clown. Okay.
Isn't he getting money? Did they pay him?
I don't even know.
I'm just holding on to him.
Why don't you just hold on to like Jerry Rice just in case? Like, I mean, Jesus. All right. So that brings us to who is going to be your upset of the week and your lock of the week. Let's go with upset of the week first. I don't think that I picked any real upsets this week, did I?
Well, you picked Eugene over me. I guess I'm a slight favorite in terms of the projections.
I guess it's the only place I have to go with this. Well, I mean, I always pick my opponent against me, so I mean, I'll pick Ease. He's going to be my upset of the week.
Oh, I see. I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Upset of the week. 23. Technically, no. Zimbabwe is not going to win. Disgruntled Whalers. Maybe Whalers gets upset by an upstart Nick and Jamie.
Yeah, that's what I was
thinking. They get back to form. Maybe. Or does Dr. Hockey get toppled by Cyberdyne?
No, that's not happening.
I mean, it's a race to the basement right now between Zamunda and Hockey and another team.
Two teams locked by the broom.
Yes.
Well, as an 0-2 team, I'm rooting for the 2-0 teams to go 3-0.
Okay.
And
drag everybody else down.
Yeah, exactly.
And as usual, rooting for injuries.
Yes.
I don't know. It's too early for me to root. It's only the third week of the season, and we have an extra week this year. All right, your lock of the week. I had a lock of the week, and I don't remember who it is. I think it's Tillet Trey team was my lock of the week.
I'm going with Wakanda over the Blues.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm going Gronky Khan over Zuma.
Interesting. All right. Well, I guess that just about does it. Is there anything else that anybody has? I don't really think that there is. This has been one of the more the tone of this one has been more serious than most of our weeks. It hasn't been as light. It's probably because we only have now we have the bottom of your face. So
I can't see myself on the Zoom. So the whole podcast, you only saw half.
Yeah, we're gonna have to piece together and editing your whole face throughout the podcast.
Just cut me out.
We'll just put Saquon.
You can hear my trash talk. That's all you need.
Put a picture of Saquon at the bottom the whole time.
Or Swift. Do we even have a picture of Swift? Does anybody know what that guy looks like?
We'll put a Saquon dunking the Nuggets picture.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Actually, we could. I think there's a picture of Eugene and or no, I think it's Eugene and Eugene's kid and Saquon. I think so. Just put that on there. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. So
you already made 20 moves.
Where? Who?
I made 22. I shouldn't be talking.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the last move that may come back to haunt you.
Wow, a lot of moves happening in Hackettstown. Look at that. Yeah. Look at what we have here. Yep. But the one big difference is that he made his 20 moves and has $20. You have made 22 moves and still retain 167. All right, now you're just putting the finger over it, like just not even. All right, we're just gonna completely just disappear.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Yep. Until next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good luck this week. Bye, everybody.